Before receiving MDMA, Thompson could not discuss certain terrifying moments from his years as a firefighter in Charleston, SC. He was able to compartmentalize the pain for a time, but it finally caught up to him when 9 of his peers died in a warehouse fire. Compounding the trauma, Thompson's twin daughters developed a medical issue that's so rare there isn't a name for it yet, in which their brains fired off signals that caused their breathing to stop. For about a year, each would turn blue and go limp in their parents' arms about 15 times a day. Occasionally, they'd lose consciousness long enough to require emergency response, with Thompson sometimes driving the fire truck to his own house. Both girls, now 5, are healthy today. At the end of that, I was beginning to lose it. Everything started to pile up. I would sit at the fire station waiting for my address to come up again. I was a nervous wreck all the time. I was no longer functioning as I should, Thompson said. I became a complete piece of trash as a human being. I may as well have been dead. I was losing my family, said Thompson of this time in his life, which was dominated by nightmares, flashbacks, and fits of rage. No matter where he was, Thompson had the combat veteran's proverbial 1,000-yard stare, a form of detachment to keep at bay an enveloping feeling of horror. He was surprised by how sober he felt throughout the process. He could access deeply suppressed memories and felt in control of his thoughts. It was an intense experience, but I was able to go into my most traumatic stuff without sending me a million miles away or into a panic, he said. This allowed me to process those emotions, have a little bit of reverence and understanding towards them, realize they were there, take them as they were. MDMA creates feelings of pleasure and emotional warmth by increasing the activities of 3 neurochemicals, dopamine, which reinforces behaviors in the reward system, norepinephrine, which raises blood pressure and heart rate, and serotonin, which fosters compassion and can help users recall memories they have suppressed. MDMA also increases hormones that occur naturally in the body, including oxytocin, the cuddle hormone, and prolactin, which are associated with bonding and intimacy. These same hormones are released post-orgasm and by lactating mothers. MDMA directly turns down the volume of the amygdala, even if you don't have PTSD, Burge said. So scary things just aren't as scary. In an uncontrolled setting, you might not want to get so close to the edge. But in a controlled setting, that's great. We don't have any administration issues there. In fact, Trump's hands-off policy towards the FDA and drug development seems to be helping us, Burge said. The Department of Veterans Affairs' most extensive study on veteran suicide, which analyzed more than 55 million veteran records from 1979 to 2014, found that an average of 20 veterans killed themselves every day. I think we need to research everything in the space, Falk told News Pulse News. There's no organization in the world that does research as well as the VA, so why not at least research these things? But at the same time, let's look at everything and not just more drugs. MDMA was first classified as a Schedule I drug in 1985. This designation, which also covers heroin, LSD, cocaine, and marijuana, indicates a high potential for abuse and no currently accepted medical use. Critics of the war on drugs say this designation has more to do with politics than science. There are clear-cut examples of fear-mongering that have tarnished our understanding of MDMA, such as the debunked allegation that it creates holes in the brain, popularized on infamous episodes of The Phil Donahue Show and The Oprah Winfrey Show. They showed pictures from a late 1990s research study that showed holes in the brains of monkeys who received massive doses of MDMA. But the researchers accidentally used huge doses of methamphetamine instead of MDMA. No one was surprised that massive doses of methamphetamine created holes in the brain. Though the scientists' retraction was covered in the media, it didn't get the same traction as the horrifying first report, and the misperception stuck. There's still a lot of misunderstanding around PTSD. Many people who have it don't even realize they do or don't feel entitled to have it. domestic violence victims might think that it only affects people who protect and serve. Cops might think it only affects soldiers. And soldiers might think it only affects special forces in intensive combat. He hopes that sharing his story will help to destigmatize PTSD.